Hi everyone! I've decided to do my Unessay as a series of vlogs. If you're not in my English 410 class, you might be wondering, what's an unessay? An unessay is an argument with the same sophistication and depth as an essay, but presented through a different medium, such as a vlog. But David, how on earth do you turn an essay into a vlog? Well, that's a great question, fellow student. I don't actually know. Yet. Not completely, anyways. Never done anything like this before, so I'm going to be learning as I kind of go along. But that's kind of the beauty of a vlog, because between now and my final submission, I'm going to be able to adapt and change my approach according to whatever challenges I face. So what is my actual argument? Well, I'm going to keep it relatively broad for now and refine it as I go along. My hope is to examine some of the significant similarities between Elizabethan poetry and vlogging, and look at some of the implications of comparing these two art forms. Art forms. Today, I'm going to talk about form. We know poetry is an art form, but what about vlogging? Is it art? Is it even worth comparing it to poetry at all? A couple of vloggers, Jacob Truman and Bound Talks, have a pretty cynical view on the artistry of vlogging. Links in the doobly-doo. They say at best a vlog can be just a person rambling about their lives, or at worst it's an attention grabber and a get rich quick on YouTube sort of deal. However, I am very much inclined to disagree with them. I think if done well, vlogging can be just as high of an art form as poetry. So I guess it's probably useful to talk about what is art. I understand art to be something that is produced by an artist and consumed by an audience. It's expressive and it conveys a message, a story, or a feeling. So by that definition, vlogging is just as much an art form as poetry or musical theater or like Nicki Minaj. But if that's not a convincing answer for you, if you think vlogging doesn't have the same kind of sophistication and refinement as poetry, then I challenge you to try vlogging. Because once you've tried to vlog, once you've done it once, you understand that it is actually an art form. I say this because I've learned that in my short time vlogging, that it takes you through the entire artistic creative process. Like all art, the process of vlogging starts with inspiration. I kid you not, I got the idea for this vlog in the shower, the place where all good artistic inspiration comes from. I swear, it's basically the muse of our modern day. Then, there's the actual mastery of the form itself. I will admit, I suck at vlogging. Being able to speak well, coherently, and edit all your videos is really difficult. But then there are vloggers like the Vlogbrothers who are really good, and you learn to appreciate their expertise. There's this really neat video by Hank Green where he actually explains how he does his vlogs. Link in the doobly-doo. So once you've got inspiration and mastery, then there's the whole job of spreading and disseminating your art throughout an entire audience, which is a skill in itself. So, as far as I'm concerned, all this is art. But then you gotta ask the question, how does the actual structural form of vlogging compare to poetry? Well, first you gotta think there's not much similarity at all, because Elizabethan poetry is written in verse and vlogging is not. In fact, vlogging is not written at all. Vlogs are spoken. But of course, poetry is unspoken as well, and nowadays we have spoken word and we have slam poetry. Whether poetry is consumed orally or by paper, each has its own benefits. With oral poetry, it becomes very performative and in the moment. It has a sense of sincerity and it's very genuine and expressive. And it's interpreted by the performer, so there's always a level of subjectivity added to it as well. But the problem is that a performance happens only once, and you have to kind of be there to see it. This is where written poetry has an advantage because it's accessible after the fact. It can be spread to many people, and thankfully for Renaissance poets, students hundreds of years in the future can pick it up and read it. Not only that, but written poetry has a visual aspect to it, so you can actually put it in front of you and it makes it a lot easier to analyze. Well, the awesome thing about vlogging is that it borrows the benefits from both types of poetry. It's oral, so it's performative, but it's also repeatable and visual, just like written poetry is. So here I am outside. One neat thing about vlogging is that it can be taken with you wherever you go. I'm not necessarily confined to a room. Vlogging is able to capture the present moment, such as me hanging out in this forest, and put it into an art form. Similarly, in poetry, the present moment is often captured in time, such as the well-known Elizabethan poem, The Passionate Shepherd to His Love by Christopher Marlowe. But then you might say, pastoral poetry is incredibly artificial and idealized. The poem never really happened. The present that it presents was never actually present. True, but isn't all poetry to some degree or another artificial? To quote William Wordsworth, Our continued influxes of feeling are modified and directed by our thoughts, which are indeed the representatives of all our past feelings. Citations in the doobly-doo. Although he isn't a Renaissance poet by any means, I think his words are worth mentioning. Because what he's trying to say is that the poet deliberates her inspiration before writing it down. Thus, a purely expressive, unmodified poem isn't really possible. And in that sense, vlogs are exactly the same. I mean, I'm currently capturing my present moment in this forest, but this is scripted. I planned all this. And then later, I'm gonna go inside, edit the video, and make it even more artificial. But I don't think artificiality is necessarily a bad thing. In fact, I'd probably venture to argue that most art is artificial. I mean, those two words, art and artificiality, come from the same Latin root, ars. Check out the OED entry on the word art. I'll try to link it if I can. So that's about as much as I've got regarding the form of poetry in vlogging. I'm gonna wrap this up, but if there's some discussion on this post or if I come across some more insight between now and the next video, I'll be sure to address that then. I'll also be starting my argument on the function of poetry in vlogging and comparing the two in that sense. I look forward to hearing whatever you guys have to say about my vlog. Have a great break, everyone.